I remember it like yesterday, standing there in that crowded gym, the cheerleaders leaping and spinning across the floor. It was a typical Friday night show, until, suddenly, they just vanished. As an officer back then, I was pulled into their mysterious disappearance, plagued by questions I couldn't answer. The case went cold, but I never forgot those girls, the missing smiles that haunted my dreams. Fast forward 20 years, and I'd nearly given up hope, until a hiker's startling discovery changed everything. What he found sent chills down my spine and reignited a case long thought buried. But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. When that late afternoon sun cast those long shadows, everyone was leaving the gym, chatting without a care. I noticed how the shadows seemed to stretch longer than usual, as if reaching out to hold something back. The noise of the crowd mingled with laughter and chatter. The cheerleaders were the stars, waving to their families. It seemed like a simple, happy day. Who knew it would be the last memory of normalcy we had, before everything changed? The gym was nearly empty when I saw parents frantically searching the crowd, shouting names that echoed across the parking lot. "Hannah! Lisa!" I stood there watching, feeling useless. As more faces shifted from smiles to panic, I was drawn to the anxious energy in the air. Parents gathered in huddles, whispering, faces full of worry. It was then I knew this wasn't just teenagers being teens. Something wasn't right, and the pit in my stomach twisted tighter. Amidst the confusion, the cheerleaders' coach, Ms. Patterson, was almost running in circles, her voice straining as she shouted for Hannah and Lisa. She checked her watch, murmuring under her breath about how this could never happen on her watch. Her voice rose above the rest, a mixture of anger and fear. "They were just here," she kept repeating, as if the words alone could bring them back. As if things weren't tense enough, a whisper spread faster than wildfire rumor about an old school bus seen near the gym shortly before the show ended. People who were chatting normally now exchanged nervous glances. "Did you see it?" they'd ask each other, casting suspicious looks around. Determined to do right by the parents, I went to each of them, looking them in the eye, and promised, "We'll find them. I'll do whatever it takes to bring them back." They nodded, though fear lingered in their eyes. It wasn't just about the case anymore. It was about these families' lives, turned upside down in an instant. Leaving them reassured, I turned back to the daunting task at hand, fueled by their hope and my own resolve. Weeks dragged on, and the disappearance cast a long shadow over the school. The happy chattering of kids was replaced by whispers and an air of gloom. Every morning, I'd see students hover around, talking in hushed tones, as if afraid their words could make things worse. Everyone missed the girls. Every day, I spent what seemed like endless hours talking to anyone who'd listen, kids, teachers, staff, just trying to piece together what happened that night. Each conversation ended up in the same place, nowhere. Everyone had something different to say, and nobody had seen a thing. One day, I sat down with Mr. Thomas, the janitor, a quiet man with keen eyes. He rubbed his forehead thoughtfully, then finally said, "I did see someone around the storage room a few days before they vanished." I leaned in, my notepad ready. "It was strange," he continued, "like he didn't belong." There was something about Mr. Thomas's tone that made my gut clench a potential lead in a case thirsting for one. I knew this might mean something. Nights turned into sleepless searches through documents and theories. With every dead end, I felt the weight of the world, realizing this puzzle was missing more pieces than I had originally thought. In our little town, everyone was on edge. Folks whispered in the grocery line, and people kept looking over their shoulders when walking home. It felt like a cloud hung over us. "Did you hear anything new?" a neighbor would ask, eyes darting around. Speculation was thick in the air, and with each passing day, the worry seemed to grow. The whole place lived in this strange mix of fear and hope, waiting for any news at all. One late evening, just as I was about to wrap up, Deputy Carson rushed in. "Got something," he announced, holding up a tape. "From the bus stop." We crowded around the TV, barely containing our curiosity. The images were grainy, almost indistinguishable in some parts. Carson rewound it, eyes fixed on the screen. "There, look closely," he muttered. With bated breath, we watched, hoping for a breakthrough that could finally give us some answers. Suddenly, my heart skipped a beat. "Is that?" I pointed at the screen. It seemed like the cheerleaders were getting on a bus, though it was hard to make out clearly. I quietly hoped my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. Could it really be them? Someone murmured behind me. This small glimmer of hope was all we needed to keep digging. As I rewound the tape once more, frustration set in. "The tape's too old," I said, tapping the screen. The details were so murky, faces blurred in the poor lighting, and I couldn't make anything out for sure. Despite the lack of clarity, my gut told me it was them. But how could I prove it with such dodgy footage? The town square was packed, parents' voices rising together like a battle cry. "We need answers," they shouted, holding homemade signs. Their faces showed a mix of determination and desperation. "Officer Davis, what are you doing?" one parent called out, his voice tight with emotion. Feeling their eyes on me, I promised we'd do more. The rally raised tensions, but it was the push we needed to get things moving faster in this stagnant case. Taking the rally as a call to action, our team doubled down. Our determination was renewed. We were going to solve this. "Let's recheck everything. Leave no stone unturned," I urged the team. Each new day brought a flurry of activities. Interviews, phone calls, hours spent combing through records. The pressure was mounting, but with our combined effort, we believed the answers wouldn't elude us for much longer. It was time to unravel this tangled web. Frustration gnawed at me as I pieced through the scattered paper trail, each file a dead end. "This doesn't add up, Mark," Carson pointed out, tossing another folder onto the pile. Determined for answers, I found myself at the doorstep of Matt, a retired bus driver. "You seen anything off?" I asked, hoping for a nugget of truth. His eyes lit up with recollection. "Yeah, I remember a route near the old factory," he replied. The words piqued my curiosity. "Strange enough, I noticed a bus parked where it shouldn't have been," he confessed. Matt's confession had us on high alert. "A bus there makes no sense, right?" he said, eyebrows raised. Questions bubbled up between us. Why was a bus at the factory, and could it be connected? Whatever the case, we needed to check it out. Determined for answers, we sped down to the old factory. Dust greeted us as we pried open the heavy doors. "Spread out," I directed, splitting the team to cover more ground. The place was abandoned, or so it seemed. Every corner concealed shadows, whispering secrets of the past. My flashlight flickered, illuminating faint footprints in the grime. "Over here," a voice called out. We wandered through the dusty halls of the old factory, but it was like the place was holding its breath. "Nothing here, Mark," Carson yelled from another room. A chill crept down my spine. There wasn't a single clue, no scrap of evidence. Back at the precinct, rumors about a teacher started to circulate. "Have you heard about Mr. Weller?" Jess, another officer, mentioned. Students were chatting about him acting strange lately. "He's been hanging around the cheer practices a lot," Jess added. The stories caught my attention. Although the words were mere gossip, they painted a picture of someone worth chatting to. It was time to pay Mr. Weller a visit and see if his odd behavior was more than just teacher stress. Several students described how Mr. Weller, the history teacher, hung around the cheering practices as if he was part of the squad. "He was there almost every day," one student admitted, eyes wide. Another chimed in, "He acted like he had something to say, but never did." Their recounting made my skin prickle. A teacher, seen but unnoticed amidst the routines, sounded suspicious to me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off with Mr. Weller's frequent appearances. With questions swirling in my mind, I decided to visit Mr. Weller. His classroom was quiet, filled with rows of empty desks. "Mr. Weller," I called out. He looked up from his papers with a wide smile. "Officer Davis, what brings you here?" he asked, surprisingly calm. I observed his face, searching for cracks in his composure. "Just wanted to talk about your connection with the cheer team," I said carefully. His calm demeanor didn't budge, which made me even more curious. Mr. Weller recounted his day of the disappearance with a steady voice. "I was grading papers at home, all night," he stated, as if it was rehearsed. But something about his unruffled calmness felt like an act. "You didn't notice anything unusual while visiting the practices?" I probed. He chuckled lightly. "Just supporting school spirit, officer." My instincts rumbled slightly. There was more to this ordinary teacher than met the eye, but I left without new evidence to follow. Back at my desk, Carson gave the order. "Let it go, Mark. We've got nothing on Mr. Weller." But my gut told me otherwise. "Sometimes it's about the gut feeling," I said. Something about Weller, and those school practices didn't sit right. I couldn't walk away. Weeks passed, And the town shifted. School events emptied. Parents grew cautious. "We can't trust anyone," one mother told me. Fear replaced familiarity. Even the principal noticed. Attendance is falling. The trust that once defined our town was unraveling. Then Carson stormed in. "Mark, you need to see this. Near a creek miles from the school, fresh boot prints in the mud. A small clue, maybe, but a clue nonetheless. Could these be from the girls?" he asked. We had to know. I rallied the team. We mapped the creek, assigned search zones. The air hung heavy with possibility. This riverbank, quiet for 20 years, might finally give up its secrets. And for the first time in weeks, hope stirred. A town is shaken by the mysterious disappearance of 2 girls. Despite official orders to drop the investigation, Detective Mark follows his gut, suspecting a man named Mr. Weller. Interviews with staff reveal confusion and blame shifting. As the anniversary of the girls' disappearance approaches, the town is haunted by rumors and ghost stories, reflecting its lingering trauma. Just when all hope seems lost, a hiker discovers something near the old quarry, rekindling the investigation and suggesting the truth may finally come to light. Detective Mark rushes to meet Joe Grayson, who discovered a battered suitcase near the old quarry. Inside are the girls' faded uniforms and a worn journal. Though most pages are blank, the final entry chills them both. "We trusted him. We shouldn't have." This cryptic message pushes the investigation back into motion. Mark recalls old stories Carson once told, especially about an eerie bus route and a suspicious connection to the abandoned factory. As they retrace steps and dig through records, strange purchases made by Mr. Weller's well-liked teacher raise unsettling questions. Returning to Weller's classroom, Mark feels a shift. Old trust replaced with suspicion. The truth feels closer than ever, but it comes with the painful realization that someone they admired may have been hiding secrets all along. As news of the reopened case spread, the small town stirred with uneasy fear and speculation filled every corner. An old photo of Mr. Weller, pulled from school records, sparked new questions. Clues began aligning, and with Jess's help, patterns emerged from maps and timelines that once seemed meaningless. Mark confronted Mr. Weller, who faltered under subtle but pressing questions. His carefully maintained calm began to crack, especially when asked about his years-long purchases of camping gear. Meanwhile, the team combed through old files, uncovering overlooked documents and unfamiliar names suggesting the case was more tangled than anyone had imagined. A surprising lead came from Teresa, sister of missing cheerleader Hannah, who had received cryptic letters over the years, personal, inexplicable notes tied to the past. Back at the station, a long-forgotten photograph surfaced Mr. Weller standing in the background at a cheer practice, watching too closely. It wasn't just about what he said anymore. It was about what had always been right in front of them. The puzzle was nearly complete, the past clawing its way into the present, demanding to be solved. As new evidence surfaces, including cryptic letters and a journal with fresh ink, the case spirals into deeper mystery. Just when the truth seems too tangled to find, a shocking discovery changes everything. Hannah is alive. Her return brings both answers and more questions, forcing the town to reckon with the past and finally begin to heal. Thank you for watching. If you like this story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscription, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming stories.